At 8:45 a.m., Kyron Horman was exactly where he was supposed to be, standing proudly in front of his science project, posing for a photo taken by his stepmother. But what happened over the next hour defies every logic of school safety. Between the moment that photo was snapped and the moment Kyron was marked absent, there is a massive, unexplained void. 62 minutes. That is the precise window of time where a 7-year-old boy vanished from a crowded hallway without a single witness, a single sound, or a single trace. Today, we are dissecting the timeline that the authorities couldn't solve. We're looking at the movements, the sightings, and the shadow cast by the one person who saw him last. Because in this case, the truth isn't hidden in the woods, it's buried inside those 62 minutes. Welcome to Unimaginable True Crimes. Here, we expose the unimaginable, one case at a time. June 4th, 2010, a crisp morning in Portland, Oregon. Like many parents, Terri Horman was busy with school drop-off. But today was different. It was picture day and the school's big science fair. For 7-year-old Kyron, it was a day he'd been eagerly anticipating. Skyline Elementary, normally a place of structured chaos, felt extra lively, a celebration of young minds. Kyron and Terri were there, navigating the crowds, setting up his display. He was proud of his project, a small electric current, a switch, a light that flickered. It was a big deal. The memory of that morning, for everyone involved, would become a precious yet painful touchstone. And then came the final photograph, the one that would soon be seen by millions. Terri last reported seeing Kyron walking toward his classroom after the photo was taken. But what happened next in the following hours is a mystery that still haunts those who were there. The school bell rang. The end of the day arrived. Buses were loaded. Kyron didn't come home. Not on the bus, not on foot. He was simply gone. Terri Horman began to worry. The calm of the morning had turned into an agonizing wait. Calls to the school confirmed the unthinkable. Kyron hadn't been in his classroom all day. He'd never even made it to his second-grade class. A 911 call was made. The official search began. A small boy, a huge search, and a mystery that was only just beginning to unfold. But before we continue, if this case and others like it are something you want to know more about, don't forget to subscribe to help support the channel and never miss an update. By 6 p.m., Skyline Elementary was no longer a place of learning. It was a command center for a missing child. Terri Horman's story seemed straightforward. She watched him walk to class at 8:45 a.m. But the teacher's records told a different story. If Kyron never made it to class, where did he go? The school was locked down, every closet and crawl space searched. The initial search expanded into the dense, rugged woods of rural Multnomah County. As investigators retraced Terri's steps, they noticed the first of many inconsistencies that would later haunt the case. Terri claimed she left the school and went to 2 different Fred Meyer grocery stores to buy light bulbs. She also mentioned driving around to help her daughter fall asleep because she was teething. But cell phone pings would soon suggest she wasn't where she said she was. This is where the case takes a disturbing turn. While the search intensified, the family dynamic began to fracture under the weight of suspicion. The FBI was called in. The disappearance of a child from a school was now a national priority. Investigators began to look closer at the white Ford F-150 Terri was driving that morning. They were looking for anything: a hair, a fiber, a trace of the boy in the red shirt. But as the days turned into a week, The hope of finding Kyron alive began to fade into a grim reality. The community rallied, but the silence from the woods was deafening. 10 days after the disappearance, the investigation shifted focus. It was no longer just a search, it was a criminal inquiry. Detectives started interviewing everyone who knew Terri Horman, and what they heard was chilling. Rumors of a murder-for-hire plot involving Terri's landscaper began to surface, complicating the search for Kyron. Could a mother, even a stepmother, be capable of such a calculated betrayal? Kyron Horman was told by police that his wife might be trying to kill him too. The family was torn apart in an instant. Kyron moved out, taking their daughter with him. Terri was left alone in the house, surrounded by the reminders of the boy who was no longer there. Every news outlet in the country was parked on her lawn. The pressure was mounting. Investigators were certain they were close. They just needed one piece of physical evidence. They returned to the school, searching for the blind spots in the security and the timeline. Why did no one see a 7-year-old leave a busy school building? The search dogs were brought back. This time, they weren't looking for a trail, they were looking for a scent. The scent led them to the water's edge at Sauvie Island, a remote area miles from the school. Divers went under, searching the freezing, dark depths for anything that shouldn't be there. The world watched, holding its breath, but the river, like the woods, kept its secrets. As the weeks turned into months, the investigation hit a wall of silence. But what investigators discovered next changed everything. Before we continue into the heart of the investigation, make sure to like this video. It helps ensure Kyron's story continues to be told. With the physical search yielding no body, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office pivoted. They stopped looking for a boy and started looking for a motive. The spotlight intensified on Terri Horman. Her gym habits, her social media, and her past were meticulously dissected. Investigators discovered that on the morning of Kyron's disappearance, Terri's cell phone was pinging off towers far from where she claimed to be. She claimed to be driving her daughter to soothe her earache, but the pings placed her in a remote area near the Sauvie Island Bridge. Then, a bombshell. A landscaper named Rodolfo Sanchez came forward with a story that turned the investigation upside down. Sanchez told police that months before Kyron vanished, Terri had offered him money to kill her husband, Kane. Police set up a sting operation. They wired Sanchez and sent him back to talk to Terri. The sting failed to produce a confession. Terri was cautious. She didn't bite. Despite the lack of a smoking gun, the police told Kane. They told him his life was in danger and his wife was the primary suspect. Kane's world shattered. He realized the woman he shared a bed with might be the reason his son was gone. He filed for divorce and a restraining order. The legal battle became a proxy for the criminal investigation. But there was one detail they couldn't explain. If Terri was responsible, how did she manage to make a boy disappear from a crowded school in a 15-minute window? Investigators began re-interviewing every student at Skyline Elementary. Some children remembered seeing Kyron near the south exit. Others saw a strange truck. The truck lead took them down a rabbit hole of local contractors and delivery drivers. None of them led to Kyron. The emotional escalation was reaching a breaking point. Kyron's biological mother, Desiree Young, went on the offensive. "Terri, bring him home," she pleaded. The public's suspicion turned into a fever pitch of online vitriol. Terri Horman remained silent. She hired an elite criminal defense attorney and retreated from the public eye. But what about the landscaper plot? If she wanted Kane dead, did Kyron simply get in the way? Investigators wondered if Kyron had seen something he wasn't supposed to, a secret meeting, a hidden object. A new witness emerged, a friend of Terri's who claimed Terri had been acting erratically in the weeks leading up to June 4th. She was obsessed with the idea that Kane was cheating, the friend alleged. This was the mini cliffhanger that shifted the profile of the suspect. This wasn't just a disappearance, it was a revenge plot. But where was the boy? Revenge usually leaves a trail. This case was surgically clean. The grand jury was convened. Dozens of witnesses were called. The air in Portland was thick with anticipation. Terri Horman was called to testify. She walked past the cameras, head down, flanked by her legal team. Inside the room, she reportedly invoked her Fifth Amendment right over and over. The grand jury ended with no indictments. The community was outraged. The investigation was stalling. But then, a lead from a most unlikely source, a local burner phone. This is where the case takes a disturbing turn. The phone contained coordinates, not to the island, but to a remote ridge. The search moved to the Tualatin Mountains. High above the city, the terrain was treacherous. They found something, not a body, but a piece of clothing, a scrap of red fabric. The lab results were inconclusive. It was red, yes, but it was weathered, stripped of DNA by the harsh Oregon winter. Desperation began to set in for the investigators. They were losing the trail. Then they decided to look at the timeline one more time, not from Terri's perspective, but from the school's. They discovered that a side door, usually locked, had been propped open that morning for the science fair deliveries. Kyron wouldn't have had to walk through the front office. He could have walked straight out to the parking lot. But what investigators discovered next changed everything. A witness who had been silent for months finally spoke up about a woman in a red shirt seen miles away. Was it a decoy, or was it something much more sinister? The investigation was about to hit its most shocking revelation yet, but the truth was buried deeper than anyone imagined. The woman in the red shirt wasn't a decoy. She was a witness, a neighbor near the Tualatin Mountains who saw a white truck parked near an access gate on the morning of June 4th. She described the driver as a woman with long brown hair, looking frantic, walking back from the tree line alone. Investigators rushed to the gate. It led to a network of old logging roads, unmapped and overgrown. This wasn't just a random spot. Cell records now showed Terri's phone had gone dark for exactly 62 minutes in this precise location. The 62-minute gap. The time it would take to drive from the school, enter the woods, and return. A massive team was deployed. They weren't looking for a boy anymore. They were looking for a shallow grave. But then, a twist. One of the searchers found something that didn't belong in the wilderness. A pair of glasses. The heart of the investigation stopped. If these were Kyron's, the search was over. But when the glasses were brought to Kyron Horman, his reaction was not what investigators expected. The glasses were a plant, a red herring designed to lead the search in the wrong direction. Whoever did this knew exactly how the police would search. They were playing a game of cat and mouse. The focus shifted back to the Ford F-150. If Kyron was in that truck, there had to be a trace. "We found a hit," the technician whispered. "Blood. But whose?" The DNA results came back. It wasn't Kyron's. It was Terri's. But then they looked at the GPS again. Not the truck's GPS, Terri's secondary device, a fitness tracker she'd worn that morning. The tracker recorded heart rate spikes, one at 9 a.m., another at 10 a.m., and a final massive spike at 10:45 a.m. 10:45 a.m. This was the moment she was supposed to be at the grocery store, but her heart was racing as if she were running for her life. And then, the most damning discovery of all. A witness from the school's kitchen came forward with a detail everyone had missed. He wasn't taken by force. He went willingly because he knew the person in the white truck. The realization hit the task force like a physical blow. This wasn't a kidnapping, it was an appointment. But why? Why would a mother kill a child she had raised as her own for years? The motive was finally emerging from the shadows. It wasn't about Kyron, it was about Cain. To hurt the father, you have to take the one thing he loves most. This is where the case takes a disturbing turn. A new suspect was identified, someone Terri had been talking to in secret for months. It was Dede Spitcher, Terry's closest friend, and she had vanished from her job for the exact same hours Kyron went missing. Dede was a local gardener. She knew the back roads of the Tualatin Mountains like the back of her hand. Was she the accomplice? Did she help Terry hide the unthinkable? Investigators hauled Dede in for questioning. She was a different breed than Terry. She was a wall of granite. For 3 years, she refused to cooperate. Not a word, not a hint. The case was cooling. The trail was freezing. But then, a discovery in a small, forgotten storage unit changed everything. It was Kyron's backpack, the one he was wearing on June 4th. Inside the backpack, they found something even more chilling, a note written in a child's hand. The surprise trip was a trap. Kyron had been lured into his own disappearance. But the backpack wasn't found in Terry's unit. It was found in a unit rented under a false name. They finally had physical evidence, but when they went to arrest her, she was gone. She had fled to California. The hunt for Kyron Horman was now a hunt for a fugitive. The media frenzy reached a breaking point. Every sighting of Terri was a national headline. They found her in a small town, living under an assumed name, working at a gym. The arrest was quiet, no struggle, just the sound of handcuffs clicking into place. The truth was finally coming out, but the question remained, where was Kyron? The answer would be more devastating than anyone could have imagined. The interrogation room was cold, the air thick with 10 years of unanswered questions. Terri Horman sat across from the lead detective, her face a mask of stone. "We found the backpack, Terri. We found the note," the detective said, his voice a low, steady rumble. She didn't blink. She didn't cry. She simply stared at the handwriting of the boy she once called her son. Investigators began to lay out the theory they had spent a decade refining. It wasn't just about the science fair. It was about the 62-minute gap. They believed Terri didn't act alone. They believed Dede Spitcher was waiting at that remote access gate. The theory was chilling. Kyron thought he was on a secret mission, a special project that required him to stay hidden. But what happened in those woods was no game. As the pressure mounted in the interrogation, the detective dropped the final piece of evidence. A witness statement from a local hunter who had seen something in 2010 but was too afraid to speak. He saw 2 women carrying a heavy, tarp-wrapped bundle toward a ravine. The truth was a puzzle of circumstantial evidence, but the pieces were finally locking into place. The motive, a toxic cocktail of jealousy and a failing marriage. Terri finally spoke. Her voice was thin, devoid of the emotion a grieving parent should have. It was the most disturbing turn in the case, not a confession of guilt, but a confession of control. Even without a body, the district attorney moved forward. The backpack and the T. Smith storage unit were the keys. But the legal system is a fickle beast. Without a body, without habeas corpus, the case against Terri Horman began to wobble. The defense argued that the backpack could have been planted by someone else to frame Terri. The trial became a circus of what-ifs, but for those who knew Kyron, there was only one what-if that mattered. What if he had just made it to class? What if that side door hadn't been propped open? The truth is, we may never know exactly what happened in those 62 minutes. Terri Horman walked free from that courtroom on a technicality, but she could never escape the court of public opinion. The case remains open. The boy in the red shirt is still missing, but some secrets have a way of staying buried, until now. The echoes of the search have faded from the headlines, but for a small house in Portland, time has stood perfectly still since June 2010. Kyron Horman and Desiree Young, once separated by distance and divorce, were bonded forever by a shared, agonizing mission. Every year, on his birthday, they return to Skyline Elementary, not to remember the day he vanished, but to celebrate the boy he was. The investigation into Terri Horman has never officially closed. In the eyes of the law, she is a free woman. In the eyes of a mother, she is a wall of silence. Desiree continues to lead searches into the rugged terrain of the Tualatin Mountains, refusing to let the forest keep its secret forever. "I will never stop looking," she tells reporters. "He is out there somewhere, and someone knows." The legacy of Kyron Horman changed Oregon law. Kyron's law now mandates that schools notify parents within 2 hours if a child is marked absent. But for a 7-year-old boy in a red shirt, the notification came too late. He remains a symbol of a mystery that a community refuses to forget. We remember Kyron not for how he left, but for the light he brought to those who knew him. A bright, curious boy who just wanted to show the world how electricity works. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Kyron Horman, please contact the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. No detail is too small. Justice for Kyron is still waiting to be found. If you are ready for a case that defies explanation, one that changed American law and introduced us to the terrifying reality of strangers in white vans, click the video on your screen right now. We are going back to 1982 to the case of Johnny Gosch, the Iowa paperboy who was grabbed on his route while his father slept blocks away. This investigation doesn't just ask how he was taken, but investigates the disturbing aftermath, eyewitness sightings across the country, a potential reunion years later, and the horrifying possibility that Johnny wasn't just kidnapped, but stolen for a sinister underground network. Join me as we attempt to find the boy who vanished without a trace and find out if he ever truly found his way home.